Hi, so welcome back. Now we're going to add skin weights to our joints. We've already added the joints into the skin cluster. Now I've done a test just to show you the influence area. So this is what I have right now. For the top lid at least. So when you have this kind of scenarios where you want to do some skin weighting for some intricate areas, especially the eyelids, what you can do is select the vertex points that you want to drive. So I'm just going to use the brush tool. You can just pick the areas that you want to influence. In other words, the vertex points that you wish to influence. Like so. For this area, I deliberately leave these parts for later. Maybe just pick these ones. So what we can then do is select our joint. Because the head joint and the top eyelid are the only ones that are actually active, we can then apply full values to our joint. Now this is what you get. What you see is that obviously we're pulling a lot from this area, so that means the weights have to go back to the head joint around this area, and you can manually smooth it in using your smooth option or shift option, so that the weights are shared or smooth between the head joint and the top eyelid joint. Now, one trick that I like to share with you is this. If you're going back and forth, you can obviously select your head joint and then do a full flood of smooth. The problem with this is that you've got this entire area that was occupied by the controlled by the head joint, and now when we smooth it, the eyelid joint is taking over some of those vertex points, and we don't want that to happen. So you either have to confine your smoothing around this area by selecting these vertex points, or you have to live with that and go and select vertex and see, go back to the original vertex points and actually flood those. See how it looks. Okay. So let me just go back and turn the joints off. Come on, Maya. There we go. If you're getting some issues like penetration issues and so on and so forth, the trick I want to share with you is that, as you know, Maya has got a component editor, and if you go Windows, General Editors, Component Editor. Now what you can do for these kind of intricate areas, you can spend some time and play with numbers. So under the Component Editor, each vertex point assigned a number right now there, showing, for example, the headbind joint is, let's say, having 0.3% influence on this guy, and the top eyelid joint is having 0.7. So what I'm saying is that you could, for instance, just to get these, let's say, you can say I want the head bind to have a 0.6 influence on here. Same for these guys. Or even 0.8. We don't want these to be pulled. Like so. And if you get the number right just by trying those, so we're finding that kind of a magical number just to stop those vertex points coming down. Something like this. I think this also could be 0.8 or 7. Initially, if we can establish the influence level on this area where the tear duct and this entire ridge, then the rest becomes easier. So you can go in and say, right, say the head bind could have 0.5. Oh, that's too much. Okay, let's say 0.6. I'm sorry, 0.4. So as I add influence to the head bind, it takes off from the top eyelid joint. And then I know that this was 0.4, so maybe these guys will have 0.3. Actually more. So you now understand what I'm trying to do. So I know it's a bit tedious, but it's worth it. Same thing around here. So I'll go in and change these values, or you can use your brush tool. Just be aware of the flooding. You don't want to flood the entire head with smooth options. So now we realize, okay, so this is too much. The reason I'm doing this, I also want to keep the topology intact as well, especially if you've got some texture there. You don't want the texture to stretch too much. So I'll give this rough values, then I can increase and decrease them if I wanted to. So let's say, and there the head bind joint was 0.2, I think. In actual fact, even in these ones, the eyelid joint can take the full control if you wanna do that. But let's leave it for now. Just I want to get what is seen by the audience. We want to get that right. Something like this. So again, I can carry on and say so it's the same thing. Again, you don't have to do this if you like. If you prefer the brush tool, just a component editor gives you a bit of more control, extra control, basically. I'm going to have 3% influence, 0.3% influence coming from the head joint on the area. So if I find that, yeah, that seems to be okay. And maybe this one could have more. Like so. The same with these guys. Here we go. And this entire area could go to the head as well, I think. Just gonna hammer these. Something is happening there. Seriously. Yeah. I'll see whether I could give this region to the head joint. Like 0.9 perhaps. I'm just going to bring my joints back. Excuse me. So I'll just use the brush to get the topology back on these guys. Something like this. This area, I can just check my numbers again. Component editor, so I've got it on my shelf. And so 0.2 and 0.8 is to eyelid joint, and then in here we could have 0.7 to the eyelid joint. Let me just check. Then going back to here, I think yeah, this area we want to view it to the head joint, so I'm going to use the brush tool to pick those vertex points. Something like this. Any little areas you want to make sure this line try and get that same uniform as much as you can, and then without losing too much volume, you can then pick some of these. The key is just trying to get the topology nice, flowing nicely, so it's not. You want to make sure it's uniform. So use your smooth tool carefully. So this is the influence, roughly what the eyelid joint is controlling. So I'll save the file, and then I'll do the same with the bottom eyelid. I'm not going to record that one. I'll show you the finished version. I don't want to take much of your time. And then once we finish with this at default pose, what we'll do, we'll select our influence, right click, unlock inverse selection, so everything is unlocked. And then if your mesh is symmetrical, you can then go to skin, mirror skin weights, and you can have influence association 1 and 2 is 1-to-1 because the mesh is symmetrical, and we can do that. Always check. Always check the end result when you do the mirroring. Here we go. It's not going to work because I forgot something, and that is right. I forgot to add this to the skin cluster. So I'm going to add them to skin cluster whilst its weights are locked, and I'll find those. Yeah, so unlock inverse selection, everything is unlocked. And now we can do mirroring, and I can test it. Four to 5 degrees. That's what also it shows me whether I've got any problems. So clearly I've got some around this area that I have to fix. Let me just check on this one. Yeah, there are some areas that I need to fix. Mirroring didn't work 100%. Or at least it might look different from this angle a bit, but yeah, I might have to go in and fix some of those areas. So I'm just going to turn on the eye geometry. See how it looks on that one. We don't see much of a penetration, mesh penetration there, so we'll be fine. But if there is a problem when we actually hook this up with a controller, we can push this out a bit. So if we have to, we can just push it out halfway through. I don't want to lose much of a volume there, so okay. So let's take back the other guy. Take it back to 0. Yeah, okay, so I'll save this file. And then we'll carry on the next session, so thank you for listening.